What's up guys, welcome to Voicey here. This is your host with a slight case of the sniffles and a new subreddit, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesOfNeckbeards.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.
Alright, now this first story is a bit of a doozy. Dated a neckbeard without knowing what a neckbeard was. Don't know if he counts exactly as a neckbeard, as his beard was more stubble than actual beard. But he fits in more than one category. A fedora, calling himself a nice guy, obsessed with anime, and long, greasy hair. So I thought I'd share my experience of dating a guy who was a nice guy / neckbeard for over a year. So this is a long story, folks. Strap yourselves in for the long haul. To start off with, I've liked anime since I was young. Sailor Moon, Pokemon, etc. But I didn't really get into more anime, Bleach, Naruto, Tokyo Ghoul, etc. until I was a bit older, 13 to 14, and I've always had a love for video games and fantasy since my parents were D&D players. And I had a huge reading obsession. I was reading The Forgotten Realms at 10. But I know how to distance myself and often find myself busier with work or school and life than just sitting and playing games or watching anime. A handful of years ago, I was working at a grocery store that has since closed down, and that's where I met my ex. We'll call him Jay. Jay seemed like a normal guy, taller than me, 5'10", and skinny, and wearing a fedora. At the time, I was close to finishing an anime series and looking for a new one to start when he came through my cashier line, and I noticed the anime shirt and asked what series it was. Steins Gate for those curious, and it was actually good. Immediately, his face lit up, and that's how we began chatting. It wasn't until several months later that I saw him again though, and a few more before we actually started dating. First restaurant he took me to was an Asian cuisine and refused to let me pay half the bill. And we had spent several hours talking about different shows and voice actors and games, and about what we wanted to do with our futures. It was also then that I found out he was 19. At the time, I was 21. No biggie, just a few years off, right? On our second date, he gave me his box set of his favorite anime, begging me to watch it. Again, Steins Gate, and I binged it and enjoyed it and suggested another anime for him to watch, which he did over several months, Bakano. Jay was unemployed at the time and living with his dad, and I was/am living at home due to college. He had no intentions of trying to go to college and was hardly trying to find a job, instead spending his days writing his game and spending money on it. Okay, seems like something he wanted to do for a living, so I encouraged Jay and he started a Patreon. But until then, he couldn't pay his artist/writer, so he got a job where I worked thanks to me and a mutual friend speaking up for him, and was fired a handful of months later for making a sexual joke to a minor, a 17-year-old female who, to be honest, was a known drama queen, and still is. After he was fired, he poured more attention into his game, getting a bit of money from it while I continued working at the store. A movie was coming out in a few months that I wanted to see that was part of a series he hadn't seen, so we spent time at my house after school watching the series. I worked 40 hours a week and took college on my days off. Jay did not have a filter on his mouth. I grew up in a no-swear household and he had not. My parents requested he didn't swear in our house. And after several times of my dad swearing at the stupidity of the people in the series or movies, they threatened to not let him in the house if he didn't stop, as his office is next to my bedroom. During this time was the annual convention I've attended every year, and I was making a costume to put into the contest. However, due to the time constraints, there were several details or things left to sew the last week before the convention. And there were nights I didn't sleep trying to get it done. Unfortunately, didn't win anything, but next year will be different. Seeking comfort and reassurance from him, I was telling him my issues with my sewing, and Jay told me it wasn't going to be done in time, and that I shouldn't be getting so upset because I was failing, and to just give up. I was cross-playing or dressing as a character of the opposite sex. and he was against that, admittedly. I was so furious I didn't speak to him for a full day, but ultimately forgave him for reasons I can't even remember. For his birthday, I made an outfit from his favorite anime to dress up in to surprise him. After the moment of initial excitement, he started criticizing the things I hadn't gotten right at the time due to not knowing how to sew or make it. The hat was wrong, the sleeves weren't puffed, the fabric was a shade off, etc. Jay, once his game started making money, asked me how much I made a month, and when I told him, actually found out it was more than that once I started looking to buy a car. He told me he only needed to hit a certain goal for his game so that I could stop working and focus on school while he paid for everything. This being my first serious relationship, I ignored it as him trying to be helpful, though I was a little freaked out at the time and kindly told him I wasn't looking to stop working. However, things started to turn when the movie I was excited to see was coming up. We were going with our friend groups mashed up, my best friends and his best friends, and I asked our mutual best friend, a 20 male who we'll call Tom, who's very fashion conscious for date outfit ideas. Despite being a female, I'm very much a tomboy, happy in my jeans and t-shirts, and don't even touch makeup unless it's for something fanciful or cosplay. And my best gal friend, we'll call her Tina, did my makeup. Jay didn't like that. He thought date clothes were supposed to be personal to the person, and truthfully, I can understand that. But I wanted it to be special. Tina and I made a day of the shopping, and Jay got really upset when she sent a picture of me in the makeup off to Tom. I had wanted to personally see Jay's response, as he hardly ever saw me in makeup, and certainly not in makeup as well done as what Tina had done. He didn't say much on it, and when we got to the theater, meeting up with Tom, Tina, Brock, Tina's boyfriend and a good friend of mine, and Jay's childhood friend, Allie, whom I hadn't met even though we'd been dating nearly a year then, and Jay had met my friends and family. I made a joke to Tom, asking if he was proud of me for finally taking his fashion advice. And Jay made this weird face. I hadn't caught it at the time, but Tina and Brock did. Allie was rude the entire time. When I was just trying to make conversation, she'd give me looks or talk to only Tom and Jay, settling between them and talking to them during the movie. And even when we all went out to eat afterwards, I never spoke to her again after that night. But apparently, I didn't make a good first impression, or so Jay and Tom said, though at least Tom seemed confused about it. Another thing about Jay was that I had never met any of his family while we were dating, nor any of his friends outside of Allie. He claimed he had a strained relationship with his dad, as his dad asked for help paying the bills while Jay lived there, and his mom left when he was little, yet he went to see her and his brother for Thanksgiving. Most of his friends were in their late 20s or early 30s, except for Tom and Allie. Jay was constantly broke and often spoke of using his inheritance to spend on his game, which by this time was making a few $100s a month. It was then he asked me to play it, and I did without telling him. It was a hentai game where a large-breasted girl with hair color like mine was groped in the first cutscene. I noped out of that. As time went on a little, I was focusing on work and school as finals were a few months away, and I had 3 large classes where my final grades were really important: English composition, business calculus, and business speech. And with my anxiety and depression spiraling out of control due to the stress, I started seeing a counselor to help cope, and started to spend less time with Jay. He didn't like that, and started showing up to my job in the evenings to hang out with me, despite my asking him not to and obvious discomfort. Thankfully, Brock, who was a manager there, sensed my discomfort and usually sidetracked Jay, or just hung out there. One night, when I was going to head home immediately after work due to having ingredients my mom needed for dinner, Jay came in when Brock wasn't there and hung out for a few minutes until the manager on duty shooed him off and he sat out in his car, knowing full well I needed to go home immediately, waiting for me to get off to talk to me. Jay asked if I was still serious about our relationship and him, and I said yes, warily, and he, and I still laugh thinking about it, asked me if I wanted to get a hotel room with him for 4 months from then. I told him maybe. Our relationship didn't last more than 2 months after that. I finished my finals, but work did not let up, and with the holidays, we were busier than ever. I got sick right after Christmas and spent 4 days at home with the worst cold I've had in years. One of those days I was sick, it was 11 p.m. at night, and I finally called Jay to talk to him over the phone because we hadn't had a good conversation in a while because I'd been so busy with school and work. We were talking about a friend who had been cheated on, and I was talking about how that friend had been having trust issues with his girlfriend for a while, when Jay said that he understood, as he thought I had been cheating on him for a few months and decided I wasn't. I could literally hear the record scratching to a halt. What?
Yeah, I thought you were cheating on me, but it doesn't matter now. I know you weren't.
Yeah, it matters. Who did you think I was cheating on you with?
No one. It doesn't matter now.
Jay would not answer my question, and I shrugged it off for a moment, too sick and too tired to care. He then asked me to move in with him the following year, or this year, with a friend of his, 35-year-old male, that I had, once again, never met. I wouldn't have to worry about bills, he told me. He and his friend would pay for it all, and we'd be living over an hour away from my only family in this state, and he could take care of my pets if I went on the school trip to Europe if I wanted to. I shut that down, saying I wasn't comfortable with the idea and to let me think on it. Jay never liked me paying for anything. Meals, snacks, movie tickets, gifts, anything, while we were together, and would always throw a small fit or sulked for the evening when I did because I like doing that. I like spoiling people I love in little ways. The only gift he allowed was his birthday gift and Valentine's. I broke up with him face to face 3 days after he admitted that he thought I was cheating on him. I didn't speak to him during those days, instead seriously thinking our relationship and everything over, and realizing the red flags that were there and that our plans for the future didn't match. My friends were really supportive of my decision, as they had seen and disliked the way our relationship had been, and had voiced it a few times. Tina even offered to fight Jay in a parking lot once when he upset me. It was hilarious. I asked him when we were face to face why he thought I had been cheating on him, and immediately, Jay backpedaled and tried to say he thought I was losing interest in him, and that's why he asked me to get a hotel with him. Oh no, my butt fell off. We parted on what I thought were good terms, and I told him I didn't want to talk to him for a while because I wanted to get myself and my thoughts in proper order, but that I'd like to be friends still. The very next day, I got a message from him asking what had gone wrong in our relationship, so that he knew what to fix for his next one. Excuse me, what? I straight up told him he hadn't respected my boundaries and the rules I had put in place, and that he'd been disrespectful to my friends, my family, and myself. I got a mile-long rant about how he hadn't been in the wrong, and how he didn't know there were any boundaries and that he couldn't stop swearing in my house like a light switch flicking off. He also told me that he didn't believe a person could get busy, but instead that they were prioritizing things and that I hadn't prioritized him. So, buddy, I had prioritized my family, my job, my mental health, and my schooling over you? You bet your ass I did! I hadn't spoken to him since, even though he's messaged me a few times. Apparently, now he's in his 6th relationship. Jay is now 21, and according to when we started dating, I was his 3rd girlfriend. However, by the time we broke up, I was his 5th. Our friend Tom has informed me that he now calls me his crazy ex, which I find hilarious because all his other girlfriends were crazy too. One especially because she'd type things like flavor instead of flavor. We live in the US. I grew up typing like that too though, and had to stop because he loathed it. He's still making his game last I knew, and still obsessed with anime. As for the cheating thing, the best I and my friends can figure is that he thought Brock and I were cheating on him and Tina. No. Brock is the brother I wish I had, even though I used to jokingly call him my husband, and Tina was my wife. All due to being mistakenly assumed Tina and I were dating, or Brock and I were dating. It was a long-running joke before I even started dating Jay. I probably have more stories of him and his oddities, but none come to mind at the moment. If I think of any, I may update or start a new post if others are interested. It's been nearly a year now since we've broken up, and I'm still blissfully single, but I'll never forget you, Jay, you negative Nancy. May you one day be blessed with a bottle of shampoo. Okay, he may be kinda gross, very gross, but you dated him for you dated him for that long, okay? Oh gosh. All I'm saying is you need to reevaluate your standards, what you might find attractive in a partner, such as, I don't know, personal hygiene? Oh, and a quick little tidbit of advice, I guess. If your partner or SO or whatever the hell you want to call it is like obsessed with the thought of you cheating, like they're always like, what were you doing, huh? They're probably cheating themselves. What's that saying? It's like an accusatory mind is a guilty one or something like that. So basically it's like if you're super suspicious of someone doing something like constantly, you're probably guilty of it yourself. This story's called Neckbeard at a Furry Convention. First time poster, long time lurker. This is a short story and happened recently at a convention that took place over the weekend. I'm not sure if this truly counts as a neckbeard experience, but it was definitely uncomfortable. So my husband and I decided to take a short trip to a furry convention that a mutual buddy of ours was selling his wares at. It was the official first day of the convention, and after spending the precious day in the dealer's den setting up the booth, we were excited to walk around and see what the other vendors were selling. I noticed an artist that I am a huge fan of, and we meander over to take a look at what she has for sale and to see if she was open for commissions. Now, I was wearing my comfy clothes, jeans, a tank top, and a semi-sheer button-up shirt. As I was looking through this artist's sketchbook, debating on if I wanted to purchase an original or get a custom piece, when the artist noticed the tattoo on my right arm. She asked if she could see it. Excited and always willing to show my ink off, I happily oblige. I must note that my husband was standing to my right, looking over her books. In order to show her my tattoo in its full glory, I have to unbutton my shirt. While continuing to talk about the tattoo and the meaning behind it, this is what grabs the attention of the beard in question. I suppose the sight of breasts overrode his common sense, as me unbuttoning my shirt caused him to come charging over. He pushed my husband out of the way and all but motorboated my chest in an attempt to ogle my sweater meat. Taken back, I'm stunned. I step back and look from the beard whose smell was starting to fill my nose to my husband who is looking like he is ready to completely rip this person apart. The artist and her companion are completely stunned as well and are staring at the beard. Noticing his error, he manages to stutter out, "Sorry, I just wanted to look at the art books," before scurrying away. My husband quickly pulls me to him and asks if he actually touched me and if he needed to chase him down to report him to convention security. I explain no, he didn't actually touch me and I'd rather he just stay with me. I did manage to show the artist my ink and we had a bit of a chuckle about my breast just being that damned impressive. Oh boy, okay, so this story was interesting. Furryism aside, it's not something I necessarily get down with. Wow. I've actually heard that this is a big problem at conventions. People tend to get handsy, and it's kind of gross because people are just trying to have a good time and they don't want to smell you or feel you feeling them up. But hey, glad the OP is okay. Glad the husband was quick to, well, do nothing essentially, but at the request of his wife. So it's all good.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.